Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another Innistrad Midnight Hunt Premier Draft, and might be going with a bold pick here. I have never drafted Green-Red Werewolves before, and as such, I'm going to probably prioritize Tovolar way too highly here. You don't normally want to take gold cards or multicolored cards on the first pick, because the only way you get to play them is if you end up in red and green, so if you get cut off of one of these two colors, all you can really hope to do is splash, and it can be a bad time to commit yourself to a two-color pair in the first pack and then just get completely cut off of those colors, have everybody around you drafting them. That being said, I have never drafted Green-Red Werewolves before, and I really want to try it, so I'm going to make the dumb pick and just slam down the gold rare here. Not that dumb, because this is a really powerful card, so it might be still worth the pick, but there's some great mono-colored cards in this pack as well. Fantastic black removal, a great white card draw engine in Gavony Dawnguard. There are certainly other options that might be more strictly competitive, but let's try to make a werewolf deck today, shall we? I do think Tovolar is the best reason to be in werewolves. Its ability to flip it to nighttime anytime you have 3 or more werewolves, making sure all of your cards are always at their largest, is very, very good on the aggressive. So Tovolar has been really impressive when played against me, and I want to see if I can end up in werewolves here. That being said, the only card to take in green or red here would be like Tavern Ruffian. Really not that exciting, or Pestilent Wolf, also not that exciting. I think I probably like the Pestilent Wolf a little more than Tavern Ruffian. The Ruffian's just generally been pretty slow, and the front half of the card is very mediocre. Bounding Wolf I'm not a super huge fan of, only being the 2 toughness blocker there. My favorite cards in this pack are definitely the uncommons, Nebelgast Intruder and Ambitious Farmhand, both having great enter the battlefield effects, providing some good value. Could just slam down another rare here and just see what happens. Sure. Just take mono rares here. Maybe we could end up in a blue, red, and green. I don't think this rare is very good either, though. But nothing that pack was super great, and I am trying to probably force werewolves. So I'll just rare draft over a card that I'm not going to be that excited about. So now, Fangblade Brigand is a really big, really strong werewolf. Seems like a great turn 4 play after playing a Tovolar turn 3. That seems excellent. Moonrager Slash, also excellent. Just a great red removal spell that's going to be really good in the werewolf deck because during the night it's super cheap. Seize the Storm isn't really going to be for our deck. However, it is a really fun, really powerful card. I did have a draft that focused heavily on this card a few drafts ago. If you want to see that, just check out the playlist of drafts, and you can click on the one that has a picture of this card as the background. That was a really fun draft. But yeah, I think I'm just going to go with the Brigand here, the big old werewolf. Eccentric Farmer is a pretty great common, but the Brigand is like a big game-ending uncommon by itself here. So very high power card there. Alright, so here we have Obsessive Astronomer, kind of a filler true 2-drop here. A decent one. Essentially letting you filter your cards when you flip between day and night. Discard cards to draw different ones. Bird Admirer, pretty decent werewolf here. 3 mana for a 1/4 reach. Good at blocking flyers no matter what. And during the night it is a 3/5, which is quite large. Or we have the Duel for Dominance. Decent little fight spell here. I think I'm going to go with the Bird Admirer. I'm not a massive fan of Duel for Dominance. Simply because it is a fight spell and there's a lot of instant speed removal that can kill your creature in response to this and really mess you up there. So it's a card I tend to take a little later than your decent creatures like Bird Admirer. And this pack's not super good, but the best card by far is Search Party Captain, I would say. Just a really good deal here. Potentially casting this for only 1 to 3 mana, getting a 2/2 and drawing a card. That being said, we can just massively commit and take Tavern Ruffian here. Yeah, if I were drafting smart, I would already have an Ambitious Farmhand instead of a Vadrik. And then we could have Ambitious Farmhand Search Party Captain, but we're just going to draft the fun way today. We're just going werewolves, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. We're going to take a Harvestide Infiltrator here too. I guess Silverbolt is essentially a Moonrager Slash. It's a 3 damage removal spell that's main deckable for any color, but Harvestide Infiltrator, pretty decent to filler werewolf here. 4/4 trample during the night. Yeah, let's scoop up another werewolf. Make sure we've really got as many of those as we want. So Immolation is going to be decent cheap removal, clears out the small creatures from aggressive opponents, and it can also be used to buff a werewolf to find lethal later in the game. If our opponent's at 8 life and we have a 6 power creature out, bam, Immolation. Finish them off. That is kind of magical Christmas land, but it's still fun to do. I think I'll take an Immolation. In green-red, we're more likely to get these big old 5-mana creatures later. Then if we were in any other color pair, I'm a little more worried about having the good cheap cards, the cheap interaction like Immolation. So we're going to take that more highly than we take the big expensive cards. Now, I don't really know for sure. Siege Zombie is definitely the best card here. Just really excellent in any deck as a finisher, because on turn 2 you curve out with a 2-mana 2/2 and start hitting your opponent, but draw out late game, all of a sudden, even though the board stays cluttered, you're still hitting your opponent. So Siege Zombie is the best card in here, but again, kind of decided to commit to red-green. I don't think we're going to have a lot of instant sorcery, so I'm just going to take Electric Revelation over the Thermo Alchemist. Might be a little weird. And easy Tavern Ruffian. Famished Foragers is the better card, but it's not a werewolf. This one's a better card because a 4-mana 4/3 that gives you 3 mana if you hit your opponent, that can curve out really aggressively. If you hit your opponent with something and then cast this, all of a sudden on turn 4 you're playing a 4/3 and another 3-mana card from your hand, you can just really make a super aggressive board state. Actually, I've convinced myself I'm going to take the Foragers over the Ruffian. The Ruffians they're so filler that they end up getting past super late in pretty much every pack, as you can see here. We can just take another Ruffian. 3 3-mana werewolves already. We don't need the Bounding Wolf, but we could take it. 3 4-mana creatures already. We don't need the Ruffian, but we could take it. I guess I'll go Ruffian over the Bounding Wolf. I don't love either, though. Alright, let's get a 2-mana creature in here, the Harvesttide Sentry. Wow, if somebody wants to draft the Seize the Storm deck, they really can here. But that's not where I'm going today. We're forcing werewolves. And Abandon the Post isn't unplayable, but it's not the kind of card I love to play. It's incredibly powerful if you're already winning, like if you're on the aggressive and you just use this to finish your opponent off. But if you're on the defensive, it's not going to help you at all. So this pack, we have the Meat Hook Massacre, the best black card in the whole format. It wipes the whole board and you drain your opponent for a bunch of life. But that is very far from what we're doing. We don't have a single black card in our entire pool. We could try to splash it off double black, but it'd be pretty hard to do. Let's just make somebody's day and pass a Meat Hook Massacre here and just take a decent card for our deck, like a Lunar Frenzy here. This can be used early game as a cheap little combat trick removal spell. Just spend 1 mana, all of a sudden your 3/3 beats their 3/3 instead of a trade happening. And late game you use this as a finisher to get that final X damage in by giving something trample. Definitely pretty good in werewolves because you're going to have creatures like 6/5s and 7/5s and stuff to give trample to. So we'll take Lunar Frenzy there and make somebody quite happy. So now we have some decent cards in our colors, nothing really for werewolf specifically. Silverbolt for filler removal, Shadow Beast Sighting for a 4/4 early game and a 4/4 late game. Falcon Wrath Pit Fighter if we want to get very aggressive here with our curve and have a 1-mana 2/1. This can also replace itself later, just sacrifice itself and discard a card to draw 2 cards. I do like the Pit Fighter. Yeah, let's go for a pretty aggressive curve and just take the random Pit Fighter here over the Shadow Beast Sighting. We already have a lot going on at 4 mana. I do think the Shadow Beast Sighting would be better than Tavern Ruffians generally. Another Bird Admirer, Burn the Accursed. We are low on removal. I think it's going to be Burn the Accursed here. 5 damage instant speed. Exile the creature to stop it from coming back if they have Disturb or Reanimation spells. And deal 2 damage to the creature's controller. Pretty great card there. We already have an Admirer. Pestilent Wolf would be the closest to the second pick for me because we don't have a lot of cheap creatures. We only have 1 2-mana creature, 1 1-mana creature. We want to fill those out with about 5 1 or 2-mana creatures to stay pretty aggressive here, ideally. So, if we're going slower, we have some Recursion with Dryad Survival, picking 2 cards back from our grave. If we're going quicker, we have Immolation for another cheap piece of interaction. Neonate's Rush, another decently cheap piece of interaction. There are some 1 toughness creatures that are pretty good in the format. As you can see in this pack, Strangler, Interloper, and Commando, all playable cards, and Neonate's Rush will kill any of them and draw you a card. So really good when you're playing against those, but sometimes your opponent's not going to have those creatures. We don't have any 5-mana creatures yet, and the Tireless Hauler is a big old beefy one, so we could take that. I think I'm going to stick to my guts of just taking the cheap interactive cards first and going for those big finishing werewolves later on. And unfortunately, Ardent Elementalist isn't very good here. I do think the card's very good in general, but we have a lot of instants. We don't have a lot of instants. We only have 3. Our cheap removal is aura based, so the Elementalist can't pick those up. So I don't think our Ardent Elementalist is going to be good in this deck. So I think I'll just take another Lunar Frenzy here. Another spell that works as the cheap combat trick to win the fight, or the late game finisher to just destroy your opponent with trample. This will be a pretty easy Pestilent Wolf, but if I wanted to draft Seize the Storm today, then I would have had a very good time doing it. We would have had double Seize the Storm, and we would have gotten to take those very late. So we do have double Immolation, double Lunar Frenzy, and Burn the Accursed for removal now, so not super high on Duel for Dominance again. And we've got a pretty big, hasty Werewolf here, or a nice early game Wolf that can shut off blockers in the late game. Both of these are great. I think the Harrier is actually more exciting to me because I am still missing on more cheap wolves, and this one gives us a really good ability to make sure we're still finishing off our opponent late game. And now is where I will start taking random Duel for Dominances if they show up. They're still playable, we'll still play around with them, they're just not massively exciting. And we do have, I don't know what is going on with our curve here. We do have 3 2-mana creatures now. We have the Wolf, the Harrier, the Sentry. Could take another Sentry, but I'm pretty excited about Evolving Wilds here. My mana base was really bad last game, and I'm always happy to have, or last draft, and I'm always happy to have an Evolving Wilds or 2, just to help even out the mana base. This will be an easy Silverbolt. Again, Abandon the Post is a playable card if you are that kind of player that wants to get massively aggressive and you're okay with a card that doesn't do anything when you're on the back foot. But I am not super interested in it because it feels really bad when you have that card in the less aggressive position. So I'm going to take another 2-drop here, the Pestilent Wolf, over the 3-drop one. And now we get our big old 5-drop game-ending Werewolf, Giant Vigilant, Tireless Hauler, and Dire Strain Brawler. And we'll get a super late Neonate's Rush if we want to run that, which is nice. Victory. I was second-guessing myself so hard in the first pack when we got a bunch of white cards that we just kept passing. I was like, oh, we could have just had a sweet green-white or white-red deck here. But no, today is the day where we're going to stick to werewolves no matter what. And Arena will provide with Arlen, the pack's hope. We have the rare reason to be in werewolves and the mythic rare reason to be in werewolves now. We have the werewolf deck today. Let's do it. I am super pumped for this. This is like the only strategy I have not drafted yet, and we really got the deck. Arlen and Tovolar. We could even have Unnatural Growth if we want, but I don't think that I want that card. The thing is, we're going to have a pretty even split of green and white here. Actually, we're going to have, or green and red here. We're actually going to have more red than green. If you have an even split between green and red, then on average, you can't cast this card until you've drawn 8 lands, because if you have exactly as many forests and mountains, that'll mean 50% of your lands are forests, so you have to draw 8 lands before you cast this. And we might even have more red sources than green sources, so I just really think we're not an Unnatural Growth deck here. As cool as it is flavorfully with that artwork, I think we just take Contortionist Troop. This card's really nice because it fills out your curve well. You cast it whenever you need it, and it will often trigger Coven because you cast it at whatever power you don't have on board and start getting more +1/+1 counters on your other cards. So I do really like Contortionist Troop to the point where I'm going to take another Contortionist Troop over the Village Watch here, even though the Village Watch is a werewolf. The Contortionist Troop is just a super sweet card that fills out your curve very well. Alright, and now we get some cheap interaction here with Cathartic Pyre. 2 mana to do 3 damage to a creature planeswalker at instant speed. If you don't need the removal, you have a backup plan as well, being a bit of a card draw spell. Discard a couple cards to draw that many cards. This has been a sweet pack 3 for us, because now we get a Moonrager Slash, another cheap bit of interaction, so we can probably cut those immolations and focus on the cheap instants instead. We get another game-ending card, the Burly Breaker here, 5 mana, 6/5 with Ward 1 that turns into an 8/7 with Ward 3. Look at our curve again, but I think we can definitely have another gigantic game ender if we want it. So let's slap it in here. Alright, wow, this has been absolutely sweet, this pack. Now we can just take a decent Eccentric Farmer. 3 mana for a 2/3 that draws a land out of your top 3. It does mill you some, so maybe we'll mill Tovolar and Arlen and Cry on the inside. But that is just a part of playing the game of Magic. Random things will happen. So 1, 2, 3, 4... 5 2 or less mana creatures. I think we could just take another Eccentric Farmer here. Just a really good deal. A 2-for-1 kind of card, a creature and a land for the 1 card. Just have a million Eccentric Farmers if we really want them. Or another Bird Admirer. I think I would play Eccentric Farmer over Bird Admirer even though we're werewolves. So yeah, we'll just have 5,000 Eccentric Farmers now. Grab another Lambhole Terrier for the curve, and this is one of the better abilities to have later game on your 2 mana creature. It's that or the Ardent Elementalist. We are at a point now where we consider the Elementalist. We have 8 instants, but I think I'm still on the Lambhole Terrier here. Another Tireless Hauler that we're probably not playing. I'm not going to play Howl of the Hunt because I have so many just good burn spell instants instead of this little aura here. Yeah, I'm probably not playing Duel for Dominance, but I'm definitely not playing the big old Vampire. We're the Werewolf deck for sure. And you know, for flavor reasons, I think we have to cut our 2 Silverbolts. I think that's just required. That should not be allowed. Alright, wow, this is going to be a sick deck to build here. Alright, bam, that was a really fast way to cut our non-creature cards down, but I think it makes sense to me. Burn the Accursed, Arlen, Moonrager Slash, Cathartic Pyre, and double Lunar Frenzy are definitely our best non-creature cards. And that whittles us down to 6 non-creature cards. Alright, so what do we want to cut in terms of creatures? I love the Contortionist Troop here. Being good at any point in the curve. Our curve is looking real nice in general. Probably cut 1 4-mana card. We could cut Foragers here. I'm pretty okay cutting Foragers here. The fact that it adds triple red when you cast it means it's better in a deck with more 3 mana or less red creatures than 3 mana or less green creatures, and we have more 3 mana or less green creatures than anything. So Foragers isn't gonna give us that value too often, but it can still discard cards and draw cards. So it can be a card draw engine late game. Yeah, we don't have that much card draw in here. I'll actually keep a Foragers in, cut one of these Ruffians, but probably not both. Cut one of these Haulers, but probably not both. I think we have a lot of late game action going on here. Like Contortionist Troops can take over the game late game. Breakers Giant, Tireless Haulers Giant. The Brigand is Giant. And then other late game action that we have, of course, is Arlen, Tovolar to a certain extent, and a couple Lunar Frenzies. Like, we have a lot of big ways to try to close the game out later on. So I think we can cut a lot of them, even to where I think we can cut a Ruffian too. And now we're down to 41 cards. So we cut 1 more card here. Keep our aggressive curve with that Falconwrath Pit Fighter and just cut one of these Farmers, I guess. I think they're one of the better cards in this deck, but I still want a high werewolf count for Tovolar, so we have 6 werewolves. Yeah, I really don't want to cut another werewolf here. Tovolar does trigger on wolves too, so how many wolves do we have? Okay, we have 6 werewolves and 4 wolves. So we have 10 right now, plus Arlen would make 2 more. So 11. Because anytime we have Arlen, we have a wolf on board. Yeah, I'm gonna cut an eccentric farmer. Generally, for most decks, I would say Eccentric Farmer is a really, really good card. 3 mana for a 2/3 that draws your 4th land consistently is super, super sweet, but it's also a human, not a werewolf. Actually, no, we can cut Harvesttide Sentry. We can cut Harvesttide Sentry. Yeah, I kind of just argued myself into keeping the Eccentric Farmers in here. We're definitely a deck that can really use the 4th, 5th mana here. So the farmers to consistently hit those is going to be great. We don't have any way to get the cards back from our graveyard, so we're not getting value off of the mill, but that's fine. Still a 3 mana 2/3 that draws a land. Alright, so I think this is going to be the deck today. We have Tovolar and Arlen. This is really the Innistrad Midnight Hunt red-green werewolves deck here. We've got the 2 biggest reasons to be in the color pair. And, yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty sweet deck here. So, with Tovolar needing 3 wolves to turn it to nighttime, we'll be playing 3 Wolf Moon today. The best t-shirt in existence. You can search it up on Amazon if you're interested in getting a 3 Wolf Moon shirt. Okay, so here we are in round 1. We've got that turn 3 Tovolar. Not a lot of support for it. No other early game creatures. No werewolves. No werewolves to draw cards off of with Tovolar's ability. But still a sweet hand. Definitely not worth a mulligan. So now is when I should check if I have any double green or double red cards in this deck. I do have double green cards, so we could Evolving Wilds for green, but we did just draw the second green source anyway, so Evolving Wilds for red it is. So we are definitely starting off pretty slow here, no turn 2 play. But our late game is sweet. Unblinking Observer will start things for our opponent. A 2/1 they can tap for an instant sorcery or disturb cost. Well, there is our 2 mana creature, but too late for that. We're going to play our 3 mana 3/3 here. Morning Patrol from our opponent. 2/3 Vigilance Disturb that can come back from the graveyard as a flying vigilant creature. So they are cluttering up the board a little bit in this blue-white deck. Likely blue-white Disturb. There's an Organ Hoarder. Probably the best common in the set. 4 mana for a 3/2. Digs 3 cards deep for whatever their best card is and mills the rest. Really good in these blue-white Disturb decks since they are going to get value off of the mill as well. So our opponent is off to a great start here. And yeah, the board is really cluttered, so we can't attack in particularly well. We could double Harrier here. That way if they don't use any removal, Tovolar will flip things to nighttime. And then it'll be a 4/4, and we can use the trample ability if we want. I think I like that better than getting a single 4/3 on the board. That also means if it's nighttime, this Dire Strain Brawler will be a 5 mana 6/6. Firmament Sage, pretty good for our opponent in this position. Because when we have Tovolar on the board, we're going to be constantly flipping it to nighttime. So if they keep flipping it today, they're going to draw a lot of cards off of Firmament Sage. So 5 mana here. We can pump something for 3 extra power. So if we attack them with Harrier, we trade with whatever they block with and trample over, draw a card. but that would require spending a bunch of mana to do that, in which case we're not playing anything bigger here, like a Tireless Hauler, Burn the Accursed, or Famished Foragers. So I don't think that we do that. I don't think we just push in here. I would really like to kill this Firmament Sage. I'm fairly certain they're going to be able to easily cast 2 spells a turn. In this blue-white deck, they're going to have a lot of cheap Disturb cards in general, like Bait Hook Angler, Hook Haunt Drifter. So they're going to make it day, then I'm going to make it night, then they're going to make it day. They're just going to draw a lot of cards off Firmament Sage. So I think I like Burn the Accursed here. I guess we could attack with Tovolar. If they block with everything, that sucks, but otherwise we might be able to Burn the Accursed for a big blowout. And we are really unlikely to get value off of the drawing cards here because they're going to have a cluttered board state throughout, being in blue-white here. But yeah, let's attack with Tovolar, see what happens, and then we'll Burn the Accursed. Depending on what happens here. We might use it to win this combat, we might use it to kill the Firmament Sage. So we can kill both of those, we don't trample over and draw any cards. But we could kill both of those and kill Firmament Sage. Then they're down to 2 creatures on the board, 4 cards in hand. We don't have a Tovolar anymore. Is that worth it? It might be. It might be, but I'm just going to take the 2 for 1 here and keep Tovolar on the board. Could be incorrect. But we'll see how things play out here. So an attack in with the Morning Patrol here. I guess we could double block, but they can bring it back from the graveyard. Is that a good block for us? I mean, we're just taking 2, going to 16. It's probably not worth it. Yeah, I think we just don't block here. Okay. So turn 6 now, we can play Foragers and Pestilent Wolf. We have a bunch of mana to give things trample. They actually did not make it daytime, but that means they have instant speed interaction in blue here because they have 5 cards in hand. There's no way that they just didn't have a play here. So now is where it's a lot more likely Tovolar just dies by sending it in. So now we can go for like the Harrier attack and buff it based on how they block to at least like 1-for-1 trade for whatever they block with. And then we can cast another creature like Pestilent Wolf if we only have to give it +1. Ooh. They're probably trying to do like a big piece of interaction here. But we can make this 6 power and just kill both of these if they don't respond with interaction. If they do respond with interaction, we've gotten that out of the way and we still have, you know, our 4/4 and 2/2 on this board to block, so it's not like they're coming back at us. Yeah, just go for it here. This probably gets shut off, but let's see what happens. I'm guessing they're throwing Lambhole Terrier on top of our deck. No, Nebelgast Intruder it is. Alright, well, we still get to kill Firmament Sage, which was definitely the most important creature to kill there, since Morning Patrol could just come back anyway, and the Firmament Sage would potentially draw them cards. So I'm not really that sad about that. It ended pretty well for us. They do get to keep it daytime now that we have lost a wolf. So casting 2 spells here does work out well for them. And again, the board state is just so cluttered, it's going to be hard for any aggressive deck to get in against these blue-white Disturb decks. Farmer here, see if we hit a land, then we can play a Foragers, or we could just go Tireless Hauler, and that's it. Yeah, double Morning Patrol here. This is just a rough board state. I think I'm actually going to cast Tireless Hauler. It's one of our only creatures that's actually going to be attacking in against this board of stuff. If we just have a bunch of 2/3s and stuff, all of our 2/3s bounce off each other. We are not excited about that. But now we're going to take 4 a turn from the flyers. It's definitely looking pretty bad. Alright, sorry about that. I was just dealing with some messages. Okay. Head in the game here, but I don't think it'll matter. This is a sweet deck from our opponent. The double Organ Hoarder. Blue-white Disturb deck here. Send in that Brawler and then maybe give it Trample for a big hit. Draw a card. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7 toughness. We need to give it +2 to trample over. And these all trade. So to draw a card here. Contortionist Troop. If we play Pestilent Wolf, we make sure that it's going to stay nighttime because of Tovolar's ability. If we play Contortionist Troop, triggers at the end step, so we would immediately get a +1/+1 counter on something if we play this as a 1/1. Probably better to stay as nighttime because we really need Trample to win this game. So I think we go Pestilent Wolf. Could make a 0/0 Contortionist Troop, but it will go right to the grave, so let's not do that. Shipwreck Sifters from our opponent. Sweet card for the Disturb decks. Draw a card, discard a card. If they discard a Spirit or a Disturb card, it gets a +1/+1 counter as well. So they do cast 2 spells here, but Tovolar's ability is going to make sure it is still nighttime anyway. We're down to 6 now, and they have 6 power flyers out. We have no way whatsoever to block flyers in hand, so we need to draw into something off of Tovolar and find a way to kill them in 2 turns. So I guess our best hope here is to trample over for a lot of damage and draw Moonrager Slash, and then we can Moonrager Slash one of the flyers and just take 4, and then we try to kill them the turn after that. I think we need Tovolar to stay on the board for that, so we can't really attack with Tovolar. Pestilent Wolf can give itself Death Touch, and Death Touch trample's insane, but it costs 3 to do that, so we'd be doing just as much damage spending that 3 into giving it more trample power anyway. So being able to make a thing unblockable matters maybe though next turn. Or make a thing unable to block. Yeah, let's attack with Pestilent Wolf here and see what happens. Block there. We need to give +2. I don't think that we've played a land this turn. I could give +4 here to trample over for more damage, and then literally just hope for Moonrager Slash. Yeah, if we don't get Moonrager Slash, we just die anyway. Right? What other removal do we have? Cathartic Pyre for 2 mana? We could hit Bird Admirer for 3 mana, though. So let's save 3 mana up. That gives us multiple potential outs here to live one more turn. And I guess we just die to the Decayed Zombie and all the ground creatures attacking in. But maybe they won't attack in with the ground stuff and a slash would get there. Alright, just the land is not going to do it. We are going to get got by the flyers here for lethal. So not a great way to start this off, but that was a very good deck from our opponent and certainly a very bad matchup for just a beat down deck like ours. Those are the matchups where the Disturb decks really excel, being able to clutter up the board and then just keep recasting stuff to block with, triple block with, double block with, any of that kind of stuff. So not our game there, but we're heading into round 2, see if we can do some better stuff with the Werewolf squad. We've got Arlen turn 4 this game. We've got Cathartic Pyre for interaction. Definitely a keep here. If we can get an Arlen out and have her survive for a little bit, that'll be incredible. Turn 1 Evolving Wilds here. Another good draw. We get that tapped land out of the way. Slaughter Specialist from our opponent. A 3/3 gets a +1/+1 counter every time one of our creatures dies. I'm just going to Cathartic Pyre that before it gets any +1/+1 counters while they're tapped out. And we'll keep this 1/1 to protect Arlen with and damage them a little bit. So I'm holding on to Contortionist Troop here. Gonna just play Bird Admirer this turn because Contortionist Troop, I want to play this as a 3 mana, or as a 3 power creature. So we can trigger Coven, because turn 4 we're going to get a couple 2/2s. And then that means we'll have 1s and 2s covered. So if I play this as a 2, it's not helping Coven at all. So Augur of Autumn is a sweet card here. They can play the... they can play any lands from the top of their library, and if they get Coven, then they can play creatures from the top of their library as well. So this is a big card draw engine. And a Silverbolt from our opponent, going to just immediately kill the Bird Admirer, so they get an attack in with Augur of Autumn. Aggressive play here. And let's get Arlen out. Turn 4. Get some 2/2s to protect her.
Fight for humans and werewolves alike.
And hopefully that means she is nice and safe with this field of blockers. They could eat her alive. They are playing black. That would be sad. So land off the top from our opponent with the Augur of Autumn, so that has now drawn them at least 1 card here. And a Shadow Beast sighting, so Arlen gets to stick around. And a Silver Bolt from our opponent. That is 3 damage specifically to a creature, so they cannot shoot Arlen with the Silver Bolt, as flavorful as that might be. Each creature comes in with an additional +1/+1 counter. Alright, well that's our only real choice here, so let's go for it.
On my signal,
We can flash in a Tireless Hauler as a 5/6 Vigilance blocker, but then it just gets Silver Bolted. I think we just play Contortionist Troop main phase because it'll trigger the Coven at the end step to get another +1/+1 counter. Make one of these wolves big enough to block Augur of Autumn all by itself. Now the name of the game is just protecting Arlen here. So far she's gotten us 2 2/2s and an extra +1/+1 counter onto one of our cards, so even if she dies right now to something, she's been a pretty good deal. It looks like we get to keep her protected still, so we'll plus her again.
wait for the perfect moment to strike.
I don't really think I want the nighttime version of her, I just want to make more wolves over time. So we could still just main phase our creatures. But we can make it nighttime for Moonrager Slash as well now, and then we can cast Tireless Hauler and Moonrager Slash next turn. Seems pretty good. The Hauler is almost definitely going to get killed by Silverbolt. But maybe not. I don't think we're ever going to attack in with Arlen, so I guess at least during the night she gets a lot of counters with the +2. So send in the 4/4 and the 8/7 at Arlen. Infernal Grasp to kill our 5/5. They still have enough mana out to kill Tireless Hauler with Silverbolt if they want to. We can't stop Infernal Grasp, so that's going to happen. So if I cast Tireless Hauler here, they probably just use Silverbolt to kill it. So let's cast Pestilent Wolf, and they'll probably do the same. Either way, I can play Pestilent Wolf and give Death Touch, and then they'll just Silverbolt that. And this way, I could have Tireless Hauler actually stick around in the future. Because it's going to be a 7/7 Vigilance, so it's also just going to trade for Demolisher if we want to do that. Plus, it'll be larger later. So they're going to Silverbolt the Pestilent Wolf. Okay. So Arlen's going to give us 2 more 2/2s if we go back to daytime, so I think it is pretty good to just protect her here. We could kill the Demolisher here. No, it has Ward 3. Actually, yeah, we still can. We have 4 mana. Could kill the Demolisher here and then just chump there. We have no creatures left on board. They have a 4/4 and a 2/3. That doesn't seem great. I'd like to have like 1 creature left on board. So just slash the 4/4. Could also just let Arlen die and then slash the Augur of Autumn. Just cut our losses here and then attack them for 7 and play a 6/6 Vigilance. But they've got a giant 8/7 on board, so we're going to need to deal with that even if we start getting aggressive at them. Not in love with this. I guess we could lose all of our creatures and kill their 4/4 and their Augur of Autumn, and then they just have the 8/7. Let's do that. Let's do that. Get 2 mana just to make her 5 loyalty, but she'll still just die to a Demolisher if she gets hit, so we will attack with her. Play our big old 6/6 Vigilance. And unfortunately, because we didn't get to do the ability where it gets a +1/+1 counter, 6/6 Vigilance does not block and kill a Dire Strain Demolisher. It just chump blocks, so I think we let that happen, and now Arlen is dead.
Back to the woods.
Pestilent Wolf from our opponent that can Death Touch block the Dire Strain Brawler. Just trade there. Well, Arlen did what she could here, but things are not looking up now. This 8/7 being a big problem. I guess we should have tried to take that out with a big multi-block. Alright, show me what nonsense you've got here. Alright, just a trade it is. They do have that Shadow Beast siding to flashback here, so they've got a 4-4 and a 2-2 left on board, and we have whatever we draw into. Definitely the losing position on board here. It is still nighttime, so that Bird Tamer, or Bird Admirer, coming out as the Wing Shredder there. Gonna keep them aggressive. They hit us for 9 damage here. We go down to 3. We have one final draw step. I don't think there's anything in our deck that can clear this whole board. So I think that's going to be an 0-2 start for the Werewolf deck. Yep, Burly Breaker only going to block one of these 4 creatures. That's going to be it for us there. Just some great cheap removal from our opponent, clearing out our 5-5, and some good value plays like Shadow Beast sighting, getting 2 for 1s, getting 2 4-4s, and the first 4-4 traded for our 3-3 and 1-1. So, lots of great ways that their cards were able to trade up into like 1.5 of our cards there. So some great stuff from our opponent with that black-green value deck. We are heading into round 3. Not a single win under our belt, but another turn for Arlen this game. Let's see what we can do here. Or turn 4 Arlen. Did I say turn 3 Arlen? I might have. Turn 3 Eccentric Farmer, which is good, but it's not Arlen. The Arlen will be turn 4. So Candlegrove Witch from our opponent here. Kind of like Pyre, because that can just get flying pretty soon, and we can stop all the damage possible here. Alright, well, we're going to Cathartic Pyre the Sunrise Cavalier instead then. Because that is a trampler that's going to keep throwing +1/+1 counters onto their cards whenever we flip between day and night, so just a bigger threat there. We're stopping more damage that way, and the Eccentric Farmers can block the Candlegrove Witch anytime that they don't have Coven on their board. We could grab Evolving Wilds to thin our deck, but I think we're going to want untapped lands for a while now. Like turn 4 we play this, play Arlen. We might draw a 2-mana card and want to play a 3-mana plus 2-mana card. I'm going to pick up the untapped mana here just in case we hit like a 2-drop. Because then again, turn 4, play our 4-mana card. Turn 5, play 3-mana plus 2-mana card. Turn 6, 4-mana plus 2-mana card. You never know what you're going to draw here. I don't think thinning the deck is that important. Alright, it is going to flip to nighttime, which means Arlen's going to come out as the nighttime version if we just jam her out here, which is not that exciting. Just start attacking with a 5/5 Trample Indestructible Haste. I almost feel like Eviscerator is more exciting at nighttime because the funnest part of Arlen, or in my opinion, one of the strongest parts is being able to make 2 2/2s even if your opponent kills her. Like if we play Arlen, attack for 5, and then they just kill her with something, that's going to be a sad time. So I think we go Brigand here. I almost think that's just as exciting at night. A 5/5 haste versus a 4/5 with a bunch of really good abilities that can't get killed by being attacked or whatever they could do to Arlen. Plus this way, next turn with Arlen, we might even cast Arlen and then just get some mana to cast Harvesttide Infiltrator as well. And then we flip it to daytime so that Arlen can make those wolves. Oh my god, Tovolar is the draw here. So we could play Arlen and Tovolar in the same turn. And then because of Tovolar's ability, it'll just flip back to night anyway, even though we cast 2 spells. This is a draft deck, I promise. So we get a free attack with Eviscerator. We can attack with Farmer as well. If they double block instead of casting anything, we just give everything +2 and clear their board. I guess this means we only have 1 blocker to protect Arlen, but Arlen's going to be at 6 loyalty here, so it's all good. So Arlen, Tovalar. That's a turn. Just cast both of them the same turn. Our opponent is probably very concerned about what's going on over here. Hopefully they don't have any way to chip in enough damage to clear out Arlen. Because I would like to make some wolf tokens. I guess Tovalar doesn't flip it tonight because Farmer's a human and not a werewolf. So it is still going to be daytime when it goes to our next turn. But that is good to be able to make wolf tokens with Arlen at least. Make our board really wide. I guess if they clear out Tovalar, then they can hit Arlen for 4, and she won't have enough loyalty to create wolves. Then we'll just be casting our creatures with extra +1/+1 counters on them instead. Alright, so they're going for Arlen here. Let's see what combat tricky stuff they have here. This could be a desperation attack. They do have a combat trick, it just trades. So we do clear out Candlegrove Witch. But this way we get 2 more wolves out of Arlen still, whereas otherwise she wouldn't have enough loyalty for that. And actually, if we didn't block here, Arlen would just be dead, because they'd bless Defiance to kill Arlen instead. Turn that 4 power into 6 power. Tovalar might have been more important than Arlen, but I'm not sure. They're both very good. So yeah, we're going to get our 2/2s. Now they do have a 1/1 flyer, so they can finish off Arlen with that, but I want to get that value off of Arlen guaranteed, rather than just put a counter on Arlen and then have her probably still just die to Candlegrove Witch kind of cards. Oh, we actually killed the Candlegrove Witch, but another Blessed Defiance or something like that could still kill her. So just play our best attackers here. Harrier to shut off a blocker and Infiltrator to be a big trampler. But I guess we do it post-combat because we can give the Brigand first strike here so they can't double block it. You know, with this many creatures in hand, just getting +1/+1 counters on Arlen wouldn't, or from Arlen wouldn't be that bad. So I suppose we maybe should have done that, because then she's not like definitely dead next turn. She's only probably dead. Okay, well they had Play with Fire, so she was almost definitely gonna die either way we played. Okay. Play with Fire into Silversmith would have killed her even if we did the plus ability instead of the minus ability. So I think 2 2/2s is better than 2 +1/+1 counters. So it worked out, but I think in hindsight it might have been the wrong play on board. Because like we didn't know that they were going to have Play with Fire plus Silversmith. So like what would the odds be that they could kill a 5 loyalty Arlen, you know? However big she would be. I guess still, that would just be 4 damage to her. But then she'd be at 1 loyalty. Again. What do we do here? We have enough mana to shut off 1 blocker. If I shut off the Dawn Guard, it's going to cost a mana because of the ward ability. I guess we're just attacking with the first striker. We can make that 6 power first strike. They could still just triple block like that. Make it 6 power, kill those. If they block with everything, with 6 power, we can kill a 4, a 1, and then we take 5. I guess, I mean, we really have our choice of what we want to kill, and that would clear the board for the rest of the stuff, and by using that ability, we'd flip it to night because we wouldn't be casting spells. So let's go for the attack. Even if they block with everything, that's fine here. They've got 1 mana up. All right, yeah. So we get to kill 4, 5, 6. We kill the Dawn Guard and the 2/2. Get a lot of stuff out of the way. Yeah, 6 power. We could get rid of the flyer, but they are really on the defensive here. We have a lot of power on the board even without Brigand, so I'd rather kill the better blockers. And we will be flipping tonight, which will make Infiltrator a 4/4 trample. And we, of course, have Harrier's ability to shut off the Silversmith from blocking, and then they only have 1 blocker. That all it can do is chump block. So it's down to their 2 cards in hand to be great here, and Seize the Storm is pretty good. A 3/3 trampler, and they get to make another blocker out of it when they have 7 mana. They're only 1 mana away from that. That'll be another 3/3 trampler there. So we have enough mana to play Farmer and use Harrier's ability, or we could play Farmer and Foragers. If we use Harrier's ability, we're shutting off 1 blocker. They still have a 3/3 to block with, so we could attack with everybody. They block there, take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't think I use Harrier's ability here. I think I just attack with a Silent, kill the 3/4. We can attack with everybody next turn when we have more creatures to attack with. Then go for the double block. Would I rather kill the elemental that might become a 4/4 later, or the card that is a 3/4 right now? Doesn't really matter. All we have is like 2 power, 3 toughness stuff that would die to either a 3/3 or a 4/4 or a 3/4. I think I'm going to kill the 3/4. This does stop us from damaging them though, so we don't get to use Forager's ability. If we do draw land off Farmer, we can't discard it to draw a card here since they haven't taken damage. Now we'll grab Evolving Wilds to thin out the deck in the future. Although we'll probably just discard this to the Foragers if I'm being honest. So it doesn't really matter what land we choose there. Okay, no blocks. Burn down the house, the board wipe. That'll do it to us. I guess I should have played Evolving Wilds because they already knew it was there and it was in the deck, but I got excited about making my mana base all even. Eccentric Farmer. Do we have Evolving Wilds in grave? No, so let's Evolving Wilds, Farmer, pick up Evolving Wilds. The board wipe here, pretty bad beats for us. Foragers with the mana to discard a card, draw a card if they want. They go for Elementalist. And pick up the burn down the house, so essentially there's nothing we can do here. They're gonna be safe no matter what. That's gonna close this out. I am not entirely certain, but this could be my first 0-3 in Innistrad Midnight Hunt, and if it is, the fact that it's with the namesake, or not the namesake, but the main strategy in the format is really sad, but a pretty big indicator of the general power rankings of the certain archetypes. It is quite sad, but it is somewhat agreed upon that Green-Red Werewolves is pretty much the weakest archetype in this draft format. So we forced it pretty hard today because we had the great rare for it. We even got the great mythic rare Arlen for it, but still a 0-3 run here. I did not play ideally. There were some positions where I definitely could have made some more ideal plays. Definitely last game, the game before that, especially around Arlen and stuff like that. But I feel like even if I had played perfectly, this deck probably was going 1-3, maybe 2-3 at the best. So really unfortunate stuff. Because I think that this deck looks super sick and it was super fun, but that was just not our day with 3 Wolf Moon here. So that is going to end today's draft. As always, if you're enjoying these videos, there will be plenty more in the future. You can always like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you more of these. And I will be back again. We have Innistrad Midnight Hunt draft challenges next weekend, and I will be doing one of those every day that those are live. The week after that is a return to Ravnica drafts, and the week after that, Premier drafts of Core Sets. Some very exciting draft formats coming up that I will be playing. A ton. So stay tuned for all of that. And in the meantime, I will see you all again very soon for some more Magic Arena.